So in one of the most important announcements in a long time, Supreme Court Justice Stephen Breyer is retiring from the court. Let's talk about it in today's video. Hi, I'm Mike Reiner. I'm a lifelong Democratic activist who's concerned about the direction our country is taking. If you share my concerns, maybe you could like this video, subscribe to this channel, even click that little bell that will notify you when I post something new. So I remember hearing that Justice Scalia had died. My wife and I were on the way to a meeting, and I remember giddily, although I hate to be dancing on somebody's grave, but giddily nonetheless, talking with the other Democrats at this meeting about how President Obama was going to be able to reshape the court by appointing at least a moderate judge to the court and shifting it away from the far right that really has been the dominant wing of the court since really before I was born. Well, we all know how that turned out. I think the same day that Justice Scalia's death was announced, then Majority Leader Mitch McConnell announced that he would not allow any nominee of President Obama's to even get a hearing in the Senate. And he succeeded in that, essentially stealing that seat from President Obama and the Democrats, and instead installing Justice Gorsuch into that seat. What's more is that President Trump getting to appoint Justice Gorsuch to that seat allowed him then to appoint Justice Kavanaugh to the seat based upon the retirement of Justice Kennedy, helping cement the court's 5-4 conservative majority, and installing another member of the Supreme Court Sexual Abuser Caucus to the bench. I also remember the day that I heard with horror about the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Now, I had been concerned for quite some time about the fact that Justice Ginsburg was, let's face it, old and not in the greatest health. And I was really worried about the fact that President Trump was going to be able to appoint her replacement, and in so doing would cement a 6-3 conservative majority on the court. Well, again, we all know how that turned out. And so we have Justice Amy Coney Barrett now, and we have a 6-3, not just conservative majority, but reactionary, right-wing majority who are politically motivated and intent on destroying everything that the court has stood for, really for the past 50 years. It's ironic indeed that Chief Justice John Roberts is viewed as the most moderate of the court at this point, given the fact that he actually was an attorney who worked in the Reagan White House. He, like Brett Kavanaugh, is a partisan Republican. So it just shows how far this court has shifted to the right, that he's viewed as a moderate now. The worst part is hearing the stories about how during the Obama administration there were efforts made to try to get Ruth Bader Ginsburg to step down, when President Obama could have appointed a successor and at least made sure that we wouldn't have the 6-3 conservative majority that we now have. Ginsburg, though, is afflicted with a terrible disease, and what that disease is ego, and it can affect the best of us. We come to believe that nobody can take our place in the position where we serve, but the reality is there is nobody who's irreplaceable. It doesn't matter how brilliant a Supreme Court justice you are or how brilliant you are in any other position. Unfortunately, in this case, Ginsburg's ego has created a situation where now the Supreme Court is going to run roughshod over all Americans, destroying her legacy in the process. I mean, we already see that the Supreme Court has basically gutted the Voting Rights Act. They've made unions illegal and destroyed any semblance of employee rights. They've allowed corporations to spend without limit on politics. They're about to overturn Roe v. Wade, and now we hear that they're going to hear a case which would allow them to get rid of affirmative action in higher education. Basically, think to yourself what is the wish list that a group of authoritarian right-wing Republicans would put together as to what they'd like to see the court do, and that's what they're doing. Fortunately, it appears that Justice Breyer learned the lesson of the Ginsburg experience. He didn't want to see the court go even farther to the right. Truth be told, even by replacing him with a liberal, the court's conservative bend of 6-3 will continue on into the foreseeable future. Unfortunately, thanks to the actions of Justice Ginsburg and, of course, Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump, there's really nothing we can do about that. Now, in one particularly exciting development, it's worth noting that President Biden has pledged he will appoint a black woman to the bench. There are several very good choices, with the leading contender being Circuit Court Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, who serves on the Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia. Interestingly, she's a former Breyer clerk, and she currently holds the judgeship on the D.C. Court of Appeals that was once held by Merrick Garland. I'm glad to see that both Senators Patty Murray and Majority Whip Dick Durbin have already urged the president to move forward on that commitment. And I'm also glad to see that Chuck Schumer has stated that Democrats are going to move forward with all deliberate speed to get this appointment confirmed. That's critical considering the fact that there is certainly a possibility the Democrats could lose the Senate in November. Although, let's knock on wood on that point. Now, that does not mean that whoever President Biden appoints is a foregone conclusion. Because, of course, as we know, Democrats hold the barest of majorities in the Senate. And we cannot afford to lose a single vote with one of our appointments. As we well know, Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin are not afraid to buck their party. And Joe Manchin actually voted for Brett Kavanaugh's confirmation. As a result, it's about time we saw some fancy footwork from the administration in trying to actually get something done in Congress. But this situation really points to a fallacy that is being made by certain Democrats. I, for one, will be glad when Kyrsten Sinema is gone, as I expect will happen in the next election. But as of right now, we need the Democrats to be in control. We know for a fact if the Democrats were not in control of the Senate, Mitch McConnell would not allow President Biden to appoint anybody to the court. So while it's easy for us to say, oh, Kyrsten Sinema should just go and become a Republican, or Joe Manchin, he should just become a Republican, this is where the rubber hits the road. And it's worth remembering that things could be worse. So let's all applaud Justice Breyer for doing the right thing and making sure that his legacy is not reversed the way that Justice Ginsburgs is. And let's urge President Biden to move forward with his commitment to appointing a black woman to the Supreme Court, and urge the Democratic senators to move forward as quickly as possible to get that judge confirmed. Well, if you like that video, here's another video where I originally had called on Breyer to step down. After all, I've been concerned about this for some time. I'll see you then. In the meantime, let's hope for continued progress. Thank you.